For that. Now, Cosatu and its affiliate unions led a nationwide campaign against job losses today. They've called on government and the private sector to say that jobs should not be shed. The Federation says joblessness is tantamount to sitting on a time bomb. The union says a weak economy could lead to wide-scale job shedding. For more on this, I'm joined by Chriselda Lewis. Thanks so much for your time tonight, Chriselda. Talk to us about what you saw when you were covering that march earlier on.
Well, it was a sea of red, Nzinga. Cosatu obviously had intended to bring 8 of the country's 9 provinces to a standstill. In Johannesburg, what we saw was, basically a picture of what we saw throughout the rest of the provinces, where Cosatu is essentially saying that government needs to do something about the crippling economy and the key issues relating, of course, to unemployment and job losses. And when you were speaking a bit earlier on, Francis, in fact, spoke about perhaps, a bailout might come for Eskom. And what Cosatu is basically saying at this point, and I think it's a story that we need to track for the next few days, is that you might see serious bone of contention between the governing party, the unions and government, the arm of government, where of course President Cyril Ramaphosa had mentioned there would be this restructuring of Eskom, and the unions are saying that must not happen. They believe that will lead to job losses, something that South Africa cannot afford at this time, according to them. So, whether it was effective to a certain degree, one could perhaps argue it was, because what they're pinning their hopes on now is for the Finance Minister, Tito Mboweni, to do something when he delivers that budget speech.
Chriselda, there was a bit of a commotion around who is going to receive the memorandum and who actually came out to get it. Talk to us about that.
Well, there seemed to have been, quite a lot that overshadowed, if I may, the whole march regarding jobs and unemployment in the country. You had a situation where the issue of Eskom kept coming up, where the unions believe that the president or government did not consult the unions before taking the decision to restructure Eskom. And you had the Eskom CEO who was there to accept a memorandum. And initially, in the beginning, there was an expectation that the Gauteng Premier would also be at the gathering. And when one of the speakers had announced that there seemed to be some miscommunication between his office and the unions, then there was a whole lot of heckling that took place. And then we saw the CEO of Eskom, who at some point was told to move from the truck where the speakers were addressing the crowd. And when he was about to speak after signing that memorandum of demands, then you had the workers themselves say that he should get off, he should not be there. So, you can sense what's expected to happen in the next couple of days between the unions, government and Eskom, if this plan that President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced will go ahead.
What type of support did Cosatu have during this march from other unions or political parties?
Well, there's a lot of support, of course, from those within the umbrella of Cosatu. But I think it's a conversation that we were having over a period of time now, is whether Cosatu is able to amass the kind of support that we've seen over the past couple of years. A lot has happened within the trade union movement. You'd recall, of course, NUMSA leaving with the chunk of the membership base. So, with Cosatu, you can certainly see, that the sea of red is, one could argue, is not the same. But I guess, the championing of workers' rights, they would say, overrides everything else, in spite of the numbers that we're seeing at these marches. They started quite late as well here in Johannesburg, waiting for the numbers to pull through.
Chriselda Lewis giving an update of that Cosatu march that took place today.